Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to talk about surface area of prisms. Now, yesterday you guys learned a little bit about nets, and remember that a net is just a two-dimensional representation of a three-dimensional shape. And so today we're going to learn about surface area of prisms and how nets correlate with surface area. So first thing that we want to know is that surface area is basically the area of the surface of all the faces of a polyhedron. Now, a polyhedron is just a three-dimensional shape. It's just a many-sided shape. It may be useful to use a net because you can more easily visualize all the faces. So to give you an example, if I have a three-dimensional cube over here, sometimes it's easier when finding surface area to draw out your net because then you can see all of the separate pieces. Do you guys see how we did that? So when that's folded up together, that makes the cube that I drew on the left-hand side, but because it's all flattened out, I can see each of the individual pieces, and so all I have to do then is find the area of each of these faces, and then I add them all together, and that gives me my final surface area. Now, what does that sound like? Because we talked about something, a couple of days ago that sounds very similar, where you found the area of each individual pieces and then added them up together. So what does that sound like to you guys? Hopefully you said that it sounded like a composite figure because that is exactly what this is. So a net is just basically a composite figure of a three-dimensional shape. So moving on, in order to calculate the surface area, the first thing that we want to do, if needed, is draw a net. Like I said, it can help you more easily see each of the shapes, which can make sure that we're counting all of the shapes. Then you want to find the area of each face, add the areas together, and then remember surface area, so SA is short for surface area, surface area, well, what did we measure area in? Square units. So then surface area will also be measured in square units because it's surface area. It's just the area of the surface, okay? So there's two different ways that we can find the surface area of rectangular prisms. So both of these are rectangular prisms, and there's two different ways that you can do it. There's actually a formula for finding the area of a rectangular prism, and that's going to be surface area equals 2 times length times width plus length times height plus width times height. Okay, now that looks a little confusing. I'll show you exactly what it means in just a second. So looking up at our formula over here, my length is 8, right? So over here, I'm going to put length as 8. My width is 4. And then my height is 5. So basically all you're doing is you're going to plug each of those numbers in wherever you see that variable. So every time I see an L, I'm going to plug in an 8. Every time I see a W, I'm going to plug in a 4. And every time I see an H, I'm going to put 5. So looking at our formula, we start with 2 times length, well, my length is 8, times width, which is 4. Oops, nope, I wanted you to be green. Okay, plus length, which is 8, times height, which is 5. And then last one, width, which is 4, times height, which is 5. Okay, and then you just multiply those two together. So your next step is to actually do the multiplication of it. All right, so 8 times 4 is 32, 8 times 5 is 40, and then 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, add all of those together. So over to the side, 32, 40, and 20 give me a final answer of 3 plus 4 is 7, 8, 9. So that's 92. And then the last step is to multiply 92 by 2, which, getting my handy-dandy calculator out, is going to give you a final answer of 184. And what are my units? Inches squared, 184 inches squared. All right, so that's using the formula.